So next up with the X-Men series that I remember. And if this is like a main arc or just like a temporary kind of thing. Temporary. Temporary story. It's just like a villain's market, if you will. Maybe I'll come up with a term later. Anyway, so this next issue, after Magneto gets driven away by the Stranger once again, focuses on a character called the Mimic. We haven't met the Mimic before. The Mimic is a character who's not a mutant. We come to find out in this issue that he was fooling around with his father's crap. His father's some sort of chemist. And he got, there was an explosion of chemicals, and now he absorbs powers from anyone that he's around. He only absorbs them as long as they're close by, and they fade pretty quick because he's gone. So he's out doing stuff. He's interested in a girl that Beast, Hank McCoy, is getting set up with a blind date when the X-Men again have time off. So Bobby is kind of dating the Zelda chick, this cute blonde girl. They meet in Washington Square at this hip place. And then she's setting them up with this librarian lady who Beast is arguing with before he finds out this is his blind date. Anyway, so Mimic, I can't remember what his name is, but he's interested in this girl too, but she kind of blew him off. And then Iceman and Beast kind of try to grapple with him because he's being a total douchebag. But he now has Beast's agility and stuff, and then Iceman's ability, and they're both bro. And so this guy kind of figures out, those guys must be the X-Men because I know that I can absorb powers and whatever. He also runs into Jean Grey, and he realizes he gains her powers, so then he follows her to the X-Mansion, pretends he wants to join up with the X-Men, and then after getting all his powers, he's at the wings, Cyclops' thing, Professor X's mind stuff, Jean Grey's mind stuff, Iceman's abilities, yada yada yada. He's able to kind of beat the X-Men a little bit, but then the X-Men use their team combat abilities, beat him up pretty good, and then he kidnaps Jean Grey and runs off to this bunker, and he wants to use Jean Grey's powers. I think Cyclops as well. He wants to use the powers because his father was working on a way to make them, when he gains powers, to be permanent, and then because of some reasons that are kind of a little unclear, people were not happy about it, and so they came to destroy the whole thing, and then they did destroy the whole thing, killing the guy's father. I want to say Rankin or something, Calvin maybe, and he wants to unbury it so he can go in there and use it. And so the X-Men get in there, and then Professor X is let him use the machine, and when he uses the machine, it takes away his ability to mimic. And they're again, the X-Men win because happenstance. Oh, goodness. So, Professor X knew because he was, I don't know, some psychic energy or something. He, figured it out. That's why he was just let it happen, fellas. And so the guy, then he erases the guy's memory and sends him on his way, and it's we won again. And I'm did you win? What up? So now we move on from Mimic, who's they fight him, they beat him. So next up, our old friend Lucifer returns. We find out that Lucifer is an alien, and that he's doing something with some mastermind, not master mold, to bring about Dominus. And that he's come here to Earth years ago, and that Charles, we learned that this is how Charles lost his legs. Charles went after Lucifer, and he found the guy ruling tyrannically over a village somewhere. And so he convinced all the people to turn on him. Well, they didn't do a lot of convincing, they were upset, but they convinced him that Professor X convinced them that they should go and attack this guy, and they go, and he has all these traps and these mechanical things. But through the power of his mind, he's able to find everything that he needs. He's able to get to Lucifer, and Lucifer is talking to his master, and he's like, don't worry about this spot, just go to the next spot. The big plan is what's important. That's getting the Earth ready for us to take it over. And so Lucifer tries to peace out, and then Charles stops him, and the guy's aha, I got another trap for you. And he drops a big block right on Charles, and it busts up his legs, and I'm assuming his spine as well. So that's how he loses the ability to walk. This is all told to us through kind of a flashback. So the comic actually starts with Cyclops being oh, I can't control my eye beam, I can't control it, then I can never be worthy of the love of Jean Grey, and I can't stand being here, so I need to go figure out a way to make this happen. And during the course of this issue, Jean Grey becomes, like, Cyclops treats her, like, poorly at some point, like, talks back to her or something, and she's like, oh, he'll never truly love me, it's like I love him. There's a lot of that. But meanwhile, Unis, our homie, and the Blob, they're out robbing banks, wearing X-Men uniforms, talking about how they're the X-Men. And then Cyclops, even though he ran away from the X-Men, he, like, bumps into him, and he puts his costume on and tries to fight him. But he's not very good at it, right? Because they're, like, invincible somewhat, and Unis has his powers back. We had his powers back before this, so they gave him his powers back. They just did the unnatural thing. Anyway. And then they make everyone think that the X-Men are bad guys, by being like, come on, Cyclops, stop screwing around, stop, you know, and Cyclops makes some not good decisions, like trying to stop them by blowing something else up. Meanwhile, the other X-Men see this stuff going on TV, and so they head out, except for Jean Grey, who sticks around Professor X, and thank goodness she does, because he's trying to figure out what's really going on. He's like, I don't think it's just these two, they must be being led by somebody, so I gotta figure out who it is. Like, it could be Magneto, it could be somebody. And he's looking, and then then we see it's Lucifer, and Lucifer's like, aha, Professor X is looking for me, he fell into my trap. And so he uses some device that, like, paralyzes him. And Jean Grey puts on, like, this device to allow her to, like, use her psychic powers or to amplify Professor X's so she can hear the story that I recalled. Meanwhile, Unis and the Blob are fighting Angel and Beast and Iceman and Cyclops, and they're all going back and forth. And finally, the X-Men kind of beat them, but then they have to hide from all the people who they're all the X-Men positive bodies. And so... Okay, and so the other X-Men get back, and Beast builds this device to, like, shut down the paralytic attack on Professor X so that he can not be paralyzed anymore and not die. And Cyclops is back, obviously, he came back with the rest of them. And this is the first time we get the X-Jet. So Professor X is just hand waves away, like, oh, remember that jet I bought? It's here, and it's ready, and it doesn't need that much space to take off or land, so we're good to go. And so then they fly off to track down Lucifer and put an end to his scheming. And meanwhile, he's talking to the Supreme Commander or whatever. And it's like, we're just about ready for Dominus. So that's the end of that issue. What's up, comrade? Still sick. So I recorded this already. This is part 2 of the Dominus Arc, which is just the 2 issues. And then I realized that my headphones I'm not recording through my headphones. I'm recording through the actual phone, which is in my pocket, and it sounded terrible. So let's do this quick recap style. So Professor Xavier learns that Lucifer is an alien creature, and that he is the whole thing they do, him and his, like, people, is that they, like, roll in, they build, like, this Dominus machine, turns everyone in the planet to slaves, and then they just, like, after they've enslaved anybody, they use them to, like, do all the hard labor and get them all the resources they want and stuff, and they just kind of rule forever. What we don't find out until near the end is that there's, like, these, like, 6 robots that are, like, running this machine. I guess that's all they got, because the X-Men take care of that. That is, like, the end. And then the Supreme Being, who's, like, the boss of Lucifer, he's, like, super pissed off, because it's like, hey, man, you killed all our robots, and, like, what are we going to do? You know, like, all these planets can rebel now because we don't have any Dominus machines. And then we got to go and start this all over again or some bullcrap like that. So that's pretty ridiculous. The other interesting stuff is we just get some back and forth between Cyclops and Warren, the Angel, about trusting Professor X. He's telling him not to destroy the Dominus machine, and we find out near the end that if they just tried to destroy the Dominus machine, the robots would have all, like, leapt on him, and, like, the machine would have defended itself and made it, like, impossible for them to be successful. But by just focusing on, like, the robots one at a time, they're able to take them all out. And again, there's, like, I don't know. It seems like there's, like, 6 of them, but maybe, like, 10 total max. Oh, boys. Okay, so, yeah. I talked a lot more about, like, a bunch of random stuff. None of that's important. But once they take out the robots, Supreme Being, teleports Lucifer out of there to give him the punishment in the Dominus machine, and everyone's like, yeah, we did it again, we saved the day, we're the best. But I'm trying to remember the reason, like, Angel was so, like, fixated on Professor X being, like, mind-controlled. I don't know if it happened before. I think he was concerned because, like, in the previous issue, there was that thing where it's like, oh, he, like, paralyzed his mind or something. Yeah, I think that's got to be it. He was, like, very concerned about that. But once again, the X-Men prevail and save the whole world unbeknownst to them, and good stuff continues to occur for them. The Cyclops Jean Grey thing is still not, like, totally resolved. there's some back and forth and like, oh, does he really care for me? Oh, does she really care for me? Oh, what does that mean? Kind of teenager drama stuff. But other than that, it's pretty good. All right, cool. Catch y'all later.